Rachel. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Tell me a little bit about your day.
I just have been studying for my finals and not much else.
Do you have a busy week with school?
Yeah, I had 5 finals, but then I'm done with school, so.
Okay. It sounds like you're excited to be done, huh?
Good.
That's great. Well, last time we met, we talked a little bit about your procrastination and maybe the deeper problem, which we realized could be your anxiety, and how you get anxious about doing your homework, and that kind of leads to why you don't do it. Yeah? Okay. And we also worked through some goals that we had set previous meetings before that about doing a little bit of homework here and there and every night and not putting it off till the end.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So last time we met, Rachel, I gave you a little homework assignment, and it asked you to do 2 hours of homework every night, either before or after supper. And how did that work out for you?
Some days I did the full 2 hours, and some days it was much harder for me to do it. It's just, I don't know, I thought it was my concentration level some days. I couldn't manage 2 hours, but I tried to split it up into little chunks on those days so that I could just do I did an hour at my designated time, and then I tried to do 15 minutes a couple other times a day. So I did get 2 hours done, but I just kind of changed how we had arranged when to do it.
Okay, good. So it sounds like you were working hard to make progress towards our goal. Great. So with that, what kind of progress do you think outside of the realms of the homework you've made?
I feel like when I take tests now, I feel a lot less anxiety before I have to take them, and I still don't have as much work as I would like to have done by the time of the test, but when I do get to the time of the test, it's a lot less work for me to try to get done to study for the test. So.
That's good. I'm glad you're there. I noticed, which is great, that you're a lot more comfortable this meeting than you were the last meeting.
Yes.
Do you have any thoughts about that?
I don't know. I just feel like I've made a lot of progress, and that this is actually helping me, and it's making me more confident.
Good. So what other goals do you think we have yet to accomplish?
I think that we still haven't really touched on my relationship issues due to my procrastination. I think we've done a good job of addressing my homework and my tests. There's still a ways to go with that, but I feel like I'm kind of ready to move on to my relationship issues.
Okay, so it sounds like your relationships are important to you, and is that where you'd like to start this meeting today?
Yeah, I'd like to address some I don't know. I'd just like to address my relationship issues with my friends and my parents.
Okay, and what do you think these relationship issues are with your friends and your parents?
Well, with my friends, it's just that I usually just like to stay at home, and I never text them back, and it's just I procrastinate, and then I always put it off till later. I'll text them back later, or I'll call them back later after my show or after I'm done studying, and then I never do, and they aren't really as understanding about it as I would like them to be.
Right. And do you think your friends get the wrong idea about why you're not texting them back?
I think they kind of understand that that's just kind of my personality, but when they want to hang out or do stuff, it just kind of gets exhausting to them to have to keep texting me and calling me for me to finally pick up. So.
And have you noticed that they do less calling you and inviting you places because?
Yeah, that's usually when my friendships tend to end, is when eventually they don't care enough to call or text me anymore, and then when I notice that they're not doing this, I don't care enough, or I procrastinate calling them back, and then eventually it becomes weeks and months, and eventually when I call them, it's even harder for me to call them because I know that they're going to be angry with me or upset that I put off talking to them for so long.
Okay, Rachel, so now that I kind of have a better understanding of what you'd like to go over today, what are some specific goals you want to accomplish in this meeting as far as your relationships go?
I'd like to maybe learn some new skills or come up with some new ideas to make it easier for me to text people back faster, or even to maybe restore some of the relationships that I have damaged from not texting them, because I have a lot of people who I have procrastinated to text for months and months, and now it's just, I feel like it's too far gone to even care to call them. But I'd like to maybe work on some ways that I could try to address those problems, and even if they don't want to regain our friendship, I'd still like to try to make amends and apologize for what I've done, and maybe learn some coping skills to deal with that.
So it sounds like your relationships are really important to you. So along with coming up with goals to keep the friendships you have now, we can discuss ways to maybe try to rekindle the old ones.
Mm-hmm. I wrote down a list of all the goals I'd like to accomplish. So
Oh, that's great.
we could touch on some of those
Yeah.
today.
So seeing this list that you made shows me that you have gone above and beyond your homework and have made more progress than I originally thought. And that's great, Rachel.
Thank you.
Well, since you gave me this great list of your goals, Rachel, why don't we just start talking about them? It looks like the first one you have here is that you'd like to text people back in a more effective manner, a more timely manner.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes if it's like the guilt gets to me and that I didn't text somebody back,
Mm-hmm.
and so I will end up texting them back a couple days later. But some people that are just, it doesn't really matter to me if I text them back or not. It can go weeks or months or whatever. So what I mean by my first goal is that I'd really like to be able to text the important people in my lives that I feel guilty about not texting back. I'd like to be able to text them back the same day at least, if I could get to that. I'd really like to eventually get to the goal of texting them back the minute they text me if I'm not busy or something, but I'd just like to start with texting them back within the same day.
Okay, and maybe that's something we can incorporate into our next homework assignment. Set goals that if 5 people text you tomorrow, respond to 2 of them or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound to you?
That sounds like it'd be a good goal to try to reach.
Okay.
I think it'd be small enough for me to be able to accomplish it.
Okay, good. The next goal here is talking about your relationships and rekindling old relationships. How would you like to go about reaching that goal?
I don't know. I'd really like to eventually reach that goal, but I don't know that I'm really ready to do that now.
And what makes you think that you're not ready to do that yet or not now?
I don't know, I just feel it'll be hard work to be able to make those friendships better, and that those people aren't going to be as understanding as I would like them to be.
Okay. I noticed that you seem a little down in the dumps about it. So you're saying that you feel guilty. Well, would you like to work on some coping strategies today to help you deal with the guilt?
I'd rather not. I'd rather not text people back than to try to fix feeling guilty. It just isn't something I really want to work on at this time.
Okay, well, then we can just move on to goal number 3. And the third goal that you have written down is that you'd like to contact your family more frequently. How do you see this happening?
I don't know. Right now, the only time I really contact them is when they call me, and then they're sometimes upset that they're putting in all the effort to contact me and I don't care to contact them. And it even worries my mom when she hasn't heard from me in a couple weeks. So I just like to start small by maybe texting my mom once a day just to tell her that I'm okay, or calling them once a week on top of that. And I'd like to be able to talk about this with my mom and get her on board, that sometimes I might just text her once a day just to tell her that I'm okay and that I really don't have time to have a whole conversation.
Right. So it sounds like even just initiating some small talk with your mom could really help.
Yeah.
Well, Well, Rachel, I've noticed that throughout this meeting, your demeanor's really changed. When you first got here, you were really calm and relaxed, and now you're not. And I heard you say earlier that you felt guilty about the relationships that have diminished in your life, and what does that mean to you?
I guess I just feel like guilt. I mean, it's kind of like a panic or a worry, or I guess I have anxiety too about not texting these people back, and that just, I could easily get rid of it by just texting them back, but it's just, I just put it off and put it off, and I do other things, and then eventually the worry and anxiety starts to subside the farther it gets away, because I don't have to think about it anymore. And then eventually it gets too far away that I just forget all about those friendships, so that I don't have to feel panicked or guilty or worried.
So I noticed that there's some discrepancies with what you just said here versus what your goals originally were for today. At the beginning of the meeting, you said that you'd like to maybe rekindle some of those friendships, and now that you're saying you don't want to talk about them, why do you think that is?
I don't really know. I just don't want to work on those friendships right now. I'd rather just move on to something else.
Okay. I've noticed a theme, Rachel, throughout therapy today, where you set your goals high and then you come back down from them. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I always feel like I can achieve a lot, and then once I start thinking about the problem, it gets to be overwhelming to me and becomes too much. I just feel like maybe I need to break it down farther. I don't know, maybe I set those goals a little too high. I don't know if I can actually text my mom or dad like once a day. That might be a little too much for me to handle.
Right, and I've noticed that you've done that throughout therapy today and previous times. I think you set your goals too high, and I always find that we're coming back down from them. Do you think we need to work on motivating you to be more driven? So it sounds like your goals are really overwhelming to you, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe what we can do is partialize your goals and break them down into smaller steps. So what would you like to break down your third goal as in contacting your family more frequently? What are some smaller steps we can take to get there?
Maybe I could just start by discussing like my procrastination problem with my family, because I really haven't really talked about it. They just kind of think that I don't care enough to ever call them or text them back, and so maybe if I start by talking with them, they can understand it, and then they can maybe support me and help me stop procrastinating so much.
Yeah.
And just start with that small step, and then like once I get have accomplished that, then I could maybe move on to another small step.
Right, and do you think support from your family would help push you into moving on to the next step?
Yeah, I think if they understood, and then they would be more willing to call me and not get so upset, and it might actually reduce my guilt that I feel if they're willing to call me every day, just to get me in the habit of actually answering the phone and actually contacting somebody every day, and then it would reduce my guilt because they would understand why I wasn't calling them, and every day I wouldn't have to have that on my mind all day that I haven't called my parents, because I would know that they understood and that they were going to call me first until eventually I can start constantly calling them.
Right, so you think ultimately to solve this problem you're going to need the support of your family?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Rachel, we have just a little time left in therapy today, and what we've accomplished is pretty great. We've talked about what some of your personal goals are for dealing with your procrastination, and talked about texting people back maybe in a more timely manner, and in future sessions we'll talk more about dealing with the guilt you feel with the relationships that have been terminated due to the procrastination. And we've also talked about your family and how their support is going to really drive you through this. And yeah, and throughout therapy today, you've really showed me a lot of strengths. You've had a lot of insight about what your problems might be, and have really took the initiative and set some own personal goals for yourself, and that's really encouraging to see. Are there any questions you have today before our session comes to an end, Rachel?
Nope, I think we covered everything I wanted to cover.
Okay, great. And I can tell by your face right now, you seem like you're happy. Are you happy with the progress we made here today?
Yes, I really am happy with everything that we accomplished.
Okay, that's great. Well, keep taking those steps to work on your goals, and see you next week.
Okay.